For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauer, and today I'm joined by Inaz Annie Cyrus. How you doing this morning, Annie?
Oh, fantastic. We made it. Almost made it to the end of the year. That on its own needs some gratitude.
Agreed. Yeah, we've made it to Christmas Eve. And before we get started, I just want to highlight you do a ton of work producing programs people see on X American News and on other platforms. Plus, you're out there. People really need to follow your Substack, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. You can get news there. You'll see days before it's reported on the mainstream media here or the conservative alternative media that you do your own research, write your own articles, and there's just tons of material up there, days or sometimes even weeks before you'll see it here.
Well, appreciate that. Yes, I will invite all of your audience and mine to join my Substack. 2025, we did pretty much mainly articles, videos, which is my daily show, or whenever I join you, we stream it on my Substack. But comes 2026, we do have a new project coming in, which will be once a month. You will, as subscribers, as paid subscribers, ahead, and then free subscribers 2 weeks with delay, you will receive pamphlets monthly, which will cover a specific topic, and it will have tangible call to actions at the last page where you can print that and do whatever the call action might be related to that. And most of it is, of course, focusing on Islam and Islamization. So become a subscriber to have access to all of those pamphlets coming up.
Now, again, make sure you sign up. And again, great information you're going to get well before it shows up anywhere else. And that's also going to be the focus of what we're talking about today is Islamification of America, Europe, and Australia. We're going to start off with your article that's over on Substack right now. Man, it's been one of those days. The one-way migration machine. And this is something that we've talked about on here numerous times previously, but this is a really good breakdown of the invasion. It's jihad through essentially invasion, or as they call it, migration, into other countries. It's always one way. You don't see a mass number of Christians or Buddhists or anyone else going to any Islamic nation. If they did, they're going to probably just be killed.
They definitely will be. Even if they don't end up being killed, they will be second-class citizens. And again, don't take my word for it. A simple research will give you the answers. If that is a big if, huge if, as a non-Muslim, if you try to migrate to Islamic country from the modern ones to the radical ones, even if you manage to get yourself a status, it's always going to be a dhimmi status, which is second-class citizen, meaning you become the resident. By the way, Islamic countries do not, I repeat, they do not issue citizenship for anyone that was not of their own nation. That's just a given rule. You can look it up. You do not become, let's say, as an American. you migrate to Saudi Arabia. I don't know why you would do that, but you do it. Your maximum status ever will be a permanent residency. That's it. You'll never become a citizen. They do not accept dual citizenship. The dual citizenships are always reversed. Myself, Iranian American. I was born in Iran and then naturalized American citizen. You will never see an American born Iranian citizen or Saudi citizen or Kuwait citizen, any of it. You can go to Abu Dhabi and invest money, which is a good investment for a lot of people, also on Qatar and Kuwait, I would say. But even with millions of dollars investment, you do not get the citizenship of that country. You don't. You get your residential permit, and with that, you just get residential rights. That includes no work in government. Unlike our country, any job in government, from local, state, federal, in office, you have to be a citizen, which I think we should consider that.
This sort of makes sense. Yeah. Well, considering all the problems that we've seen here, and not just with Islamic refugees that have come to the U.S., but even with some of these other people from other countries, they get into our government, and then it's a giant scam. With this guy at the school board, and I can't remember which state this was now, it was also ripping them off at the same time. We've got some other cases like that we've covered, but it's also like they're not coming here to become Americans. This is blatantly obvious, and this is going to be kind of one of the ongoing themes with the show today. That they form their own little enclave, and they are here to dominate and take over. That's the whole point in these mass migration, where they take over whole towns like Dearborn or Little Mogadishu up there in Minnesota now, and then they control things. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me add a bit of more salt into the conversation. Did you know? Well, generally, by international law, an individual cannot be more than a dual citizen, meaning you cannot have citizenship of 3 different countries. You can't. 2 is the max. Now, for any reason, if I choose to take a Canadian citizenship and drop my Iranian citizenship, did you know I do not have the right? It is not possible for an Iranian to drop their Iranian citizenship.
Really? No, I
Yes,
did not
sir.
know.
And none of, except Israel, none of Middle East or Central Asian countries allow drop of citizenship. You're stuck with it. Even if you have the opportunity to become a citizen of 2 better countries, well, too bad. Pick one over the other. You can't drop it. There is no system. I can't walk into the embassy and say, hey, I'm done being an Iranian. I'm never going back to Iran, so I have no use for my Iranian citizenship. I have the opportunity to become a Canadian citizen. They will look at me and say, pick between America and Canada. One of the reasons you will literally, if you look, it's always Iranian Canadian, Iranian British, Iranian American, Iranian Swedish, Iranian something. They won't even let you. You don't have a choice. I'm not encouraging anyone to drop their citizenship, but this matters because when it comes to America, when it comes to here, and that's the whole point. Now, I said West in my Substack, but I focused on America mainly because, well, we see what happened to Europe already. But when you look at our immigration and citizenship laws, you see so many cracks and holes that it almost becomes an abandoned building.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the system is set up to exploit, and this is something, chain migration, some of these other things like that are what we really need to take care of. If somebody's legally immigrating here and bringing their family, that doesn't include that should not include all their cousins, their grandma, other people are not going to support themselves. A lot of times they're bringing elderly parents, people like that over, and then immediately throwing them on Social Security here. This has got to stop. That we have to have limits and real expectations. We have to be doing things in a way that is good for America. We're not the world's dumping ground for the people that they don't want, or they're criminals or whoever. We can't be the place for all the refugees from all over the world to come, despite what they do or don't contribute. But this is how we've ended up with these massive problems and billions of dollars in fraud, and we're just starting to uncover it. I mean, this Medicaid and COVID fraud and everything else up in Minnesota, we're now hearing totals of $18 billion, and how much you want to bet that's going to grow We're going to cover a couple other stories. We've got updates on Maine, and I've got some updates on what's going on in Ohio. We'll probably share with you next week. But this is mass, and it isn't just the Somalis. This is going to expand to other communities that are doing the exact same thing, and this is jihad through immigration. They are stealing our resources, sending them back home, and abusing our laws, and taking over areas by forming these little enclaves.
Yes, and let me go ahead and plug my Lord willing upcoming book, The Architecture of Jihad. My second longest chapter of this book is Jihad through migration, which they call Hijra in Arabic. There is and I understand a lot of Americans are kind of catching up with the basics of Hijra, but it is way deeper than you imagine. That's why I wrote that Substack. It's not, first of all, again, let me repeat, immigration is not a right. It is a privilege. Even inside international code of immigration, even if you go with UN code, which I don't for last 10 years, there is no obligation. The countries have obligated themselves, meaning there is no actual article or sub-article inside UN declaration that says you must and you have to. That doesn't exist. It is an option for countries that are part of UN to announce annually what's their budget, basically, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even mandate. A country can say zero. Will they face verbal backlash and some pushes from UN? Absolutely. However, it is not breaking the international law. In America, it is not unconstitutional to say no to migration. Now, we're talking about legal part. On my Substack, I also cover the illegal part. And the reason I wrote that is because reports came out that 3 Afghan men trying to cross border into Iran illegally were shot and killed. And I used that as an anchor, and I said it on my Substack, and I want to be very clear. I am not promoting killing people. Please get that right. What I am saying is you barely see a flood of illegals in any of the Middle Eastern or Central Asia countries. Why? Because they have laws that they implement. Part of that law is if you try to cross, we'll kill you. I was told by my smuggler that there is a part we're going to pass through and they will shoot if they see you. And I was like, okay, so I either die or get through the border. And the answer was yes, make your decision. My decision was let's go. But I was informed of the existing law. And guess what? Nobody is crying over those Afghans who died that day. Probably because they know, again, though it sounds harsh, it sounds very inhumane, it is the law of their sovereignty. We do not allow illegals to come in. What do? We cry over why don't we give them a better welcome when they break our laws and come through the border?
Yeah, I guess $6,000 a month isn't quite enough. But yeah, I mean, this is the normal laws, normal enforcement, normal border controls for most of human history. Not necessarily shooting everybody that came over, but you're either turned around, if you keep showing up, then there's going to be the violence used to stop you. They're not going to let a wave of people come in and invade their country. They're going to defend their borders. And again, that's what we need to be doing here. Luckily, now we are turning away people as they show up at the border. We are working on finishing the wall. But again, we've got to have actual immigration enforcement. You can't, without a common language, borders, and culture, you don't have a country anymore. It's just gone, especially now in the modern age. So this is something we've got to get back to. Well, I've got a break. Here, go ahead, and then I got a breaking story.
Okay, well, one, I wanted to give a shout out to everybody. We have Lori, good morning to you too, and Larry from Kansas City, Dawn all the way from Michigan. And I also want to say this, even through legal process, Michael, we don't have laws anymore. There is no background check. There is no interview. There is no psychological evaluation. I went through all of that. So I know we did have them at some point. And mind you, I came in this country mid 2002. So it wasn't centuries ago. It was literally 23 years ago, 24 years ago, whatever the time might be. I had to go through all of that before I came in, by the ways. All of this happened when I'm in Turkey. My first interview with UN. Then my first interview with Embassy of US, sitting there talking to an American ambassador through a translator. It was the first interview was my story, my background, where I'm going, what are your plans? Though I'm a kid, he's asking me, what are your plans? What are you
Yeah.
looking for? The second interview was a psychological evaluation. They were getting
Makes
into my
sense.
head. They were telling me what are my flexibility, what are my attachments, what are my compromise level. All of that was asked. After that, I was sent for medical test, where there was a long list that if any of these illnesses exist in you, you're not going. Michael, there was a time where we had limitation on certain illnesses not entering the country. We don't have that anymore. We have visa issues for those who have a specific illnesses to come into the country to get treatment.
I mean, it's insane. Even going back to like Ellis Island, at the very least, they were screening for illnesses, people that were crazy, anybody they thought was going to be a problem. I mean, this has always been part of a normal immigration system, a lawful immigration system, to have some level of real comprehensive background check, not just criminal history, because again, from a lot of countries, we're not going to be able to trust whatever comes over anyway. But it's the psych profile, asking questions, trying to get at the root of the problems, try to uncover if somebody's concealing anything, especially something that could be harmful to Americans here, including disease. Again, we don't want to import people with, the bubonic plague from wherever, just because we feel sorry for them. Like, sympathy is not a good reason alone to allow people to immigrate to the country. They have to have something that they bring that will build us up, that will add to America's culture, our values, somebody that wants to be here for the right reasons, that wants to come here to become an American. Now, I understand a lot of people are fleeing, war at home or other things, and that can factor into the equation. But the bottom line is, if they don't add something to our society, we are not the dumping ground for poor souls around the world, and we've got to stop acting like we are.
Yes, and also don't forget, one of the issues we have today, Michael, you said those who want to become American are welcome. The problem is today, just like a lot of people can define what a woman is, they can't define what an American is either.
Yes.
How do you train your immigrants? I was trained, right? I was around a crowd of people who were patriots, who loved America, and they taught me how to be a patriot, how to love America, and how to become an American. Today, we don't have that crowd. We don't have enough people inside our government, inside our schools, because that's the thing. Part of it is a school, right? Either college or a school, either way. That's how an immigrant, especially younger immigrant, legal immigrant, will learn about America.
Yeah.
We don't have the big crowd of patriots who are going to say an immigrant, hey, welcome to America. I still have my kit. You've seen it, actually. I had a welcome to America kit.
Yeah.
Though I couldn't read a single word of it, I had that kit. So when I could read, or if I could find someone who could read it in Farsi for me, it had the glance of how this country was founded. What are the values of this country? What are the freedoms of this country? What are the no's of this country? I had the booklet in my hand for years. I still have it in my closet, but then I didn't need to go back and reread it because I learned it.
Yes.
I have asked legal immigrants who come into America, they don't receive the welcome to U.S. package anymore. They don't. We don't even give them that paper anymore. But we do give them a Farsi language test at DMV. That's how much we tell them. You don't need to learn English. In Los Angeles County, when you go to DMV, they have 106 available languages for you to take your driving test. How's that for assimilation?
No, I mean, that's the problem. Like, we really need to go back to having almost like an onboarding class while people are here legally. And I don't know if that's full 5 years or what it is. Maybe it's just time to completion. Whatever it takes.
Year.
People. One year, okay. But I think this needs to be a combination of confirming that they can speak and communicate in English. They need to learn our history, our culture, our values. I want to see a family that immigrated here. I want to see them out on the 4th of July waving the American flag and them teaching their kids what it means to be an American. And it doesn't mean you ignore your culture or forget your traditions, because I'm sure there's good lessons for them to learn there too. And some of those are going to be why you left. That there's things to celebrate, but there's also good reasons that you got out of that country, I would think. So like all that needs to be passed on.
And remember this, by the way, Lori is correct. Training to assimilate would be it would be racist today. That's very true. If you try to help someone assimilate, then you're racist, which I can't make the connection, but I can make the connection to racism to so many topics. But mind you,
Yeah.
let's go back to Middle East for a minute. Iranians, Afghans, Pakistanis, myself, you've seen my Iranian heritage that I practice literally daily, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these immigrants are coming to America not because they're running from their culture, they're running from the regimes in control.
Yeah.
So if you give them the tools, there was a time when our ESL classes, English as a second language classes for free, offered for free,
Hmm.
every zip code, every not county, every zip code had one ESL class a week.
Yep.
Today,
Yeah.
we don't even have them per county.
Yeah. I used to have a friend in Florida. That was part of her job. She was a teacher in, we'll just say near Daytona. But part of her job was in the evening, because she was multilingual, she taught ESL classes to Spanish speaking people that had legally immigrated to the U.S. That it was 20 or so people usually in her county, but she would work with them for months, and they were doing work on their own. They were taking classes, learning the language elsewhere, but she was there to help them, hone their skills, learn phrases and things that aren't easy to translate. I'm blanking on what those are called, idioms and other things. But it was to make sure they could communicate effectively. But it was also, people that came here and wanted to be successful. A lot of them were small business owners, people like that came over from Cuba, and even just some from Puerto Rico that they needed to brush up on their English. They were already U.S. citizens, but they came to Florida and they wanted to be successful. So they wanted to make sure they could speak the language, because if you can't, you're always going to be a second-class citizen. There's no getting around that. English is the language here.
And I want to make sure that your audience understand I am not putting it on our government all the way. That's not what I'm doing. Because again, using myself as an example, I came to America August of 2002. I literally I took the test, not a GED, the actual high school diploma test in 2005, and I aced it. And
Yeah.
I never took an ESL class. I never took English class. I took it upon myself to learn the language. Now, a lot of people say, well, you were young, you were 18, you were 19, you were 20, so it was easier to learn. And I agree. So it's the combination. The person
Yeah.
who comes in, do they have the spirit to become an American? Do they have the vision of one day fluently speaking English to an American friend and giggling and laughing? Or are they just here for the dollar that translates to a lot of money in their homeland? That's
Yeah.
the difference between, even if they are legal, there is always those who did not come here out of love for America, or for that matter, hatred for their own country. They came
Yeah.
here because they understand the American dream better than me and you. And that's the
Yep.
problem.
Yeah, they came here as economic migrants. One other thing I want to add to the list too is, if you wind the clock back about 100 years, a lot of churches also helped with assimilation here, both with learning the language. Let's say you were a German Baptist and you moved over here to like Northern Ohio, where you have a big group of German Baptists. A lot of those churches there knew if they didn't learn English, they were never going to be successful. They're always going to be second class. So that was one of the things they worked with them on, is learning the language and learning the culture and traditions, so they could better assimilate into the area that they were in and not stick out. They could actually be a useful part of the community. That's something else we need to get back to, is now so many of our churches are woke. If they even thought about that, the parish would probably turn against them, because you'd be, I don't know, somehow racist. I'm still not sure how that works either.
Today, we have churches that do help with assimilation, but their format of assimilation is hiding illegals,
Yeah.
protecting them in their buildings, welcoming Muslims into their churches who preach Islam to their congregation, and don't say anything because you don't want to be Islamophobe. So the format has changed. The building is still there.
Yeah. Well, here I got some updates, breaking news here real quick. So this is being reported over on Gateway Pundit that it sounds like Trump may finally be banning the Muslim Brotherhood. And Trump faces historic national security decision. Will he ban the Muslim Brotherhood? So this looks like it'll carry over to CARE and any members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Marco Rubio is already out there discussing it and moving this forward through the State Department. Hopefully this comes to fruition, but yeah, I think there's a few countries Trump's been cozying up to that might be upset if suddenly we're banning the Muslim Brotherhood, specifically Qatar and my brain just shut off.
Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, numerous others, I guess, are already making noise about this. But yeah, there's something else that needs to happen. These are literal terrorists. Not to mention, CARE is funneling money out of the country to literal terrorist organizations. They were unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation case, and now we do have Florida and Texas looking to ban them as well. Something that needs to happen nationwide, and sooner the better.
Yes, I agree with that. But let's be realistic here. Banning. Number one, what happened to designation of Muslim Brotherhood? That's still up in there. A few chapters were, not the Muslim Brotherhood itself. Secondly,
Yep.
banning Muslim Brotherhood. What does that what does that even mean? Genuinely, let's be honest. Banning Muslim Brotherhood means what? We won't let their members come into the country anymore? Or does that mean we're going to hunt down their members and deport them? Or put them in prison if they're American? Because they have recruited a lot of American-born people. Does that mean we're going to shut down all chapters of CARE? Because remember, the moment DeSantis came out in Florida and designated Muslim Brotherhood and CARE immediately sued
Course.
DeSantis. They're going through lawsuits. Same thing happened in Texas. So as fancy as this sounds, unfortunately, I have learned in our White House, regardless of who's in it, in our White House, they use languages to soften the anger of American people. But when you dig into the language, you realize, oh, wait, okay, no, that's not what it is. That's what it is. Are we really going to shut down more than half of mosques in America because they are tied and they're being funded through Muslim Brotherhood? Of course not. We are, let's be realistic, Michael, we as a nation, from government to military to average people on the streets, we are not ready to go to full force war with Islam. We're not. No. Because we allowed them to conquer so much of our culture, offices, law, all of that. So we're not ready to go full force war with them, which I wish we were. So, okay, fancy sentence, but one, we haven't even finished the first phase yet. The same thing I said about the Hamas deal. You know, we're starting on the second phase, but we haven't even completed the first phase. Same thing with Muslim Brotherhood. We didn't finish. What happened to the full designation? They only designated, I believe, 7 chapters of Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood, there shouldn't be a chapters. There should be Muslim Brotherhood. End of the story.
Yeah.
Designation, Muslim Brotherhood. But we didn't do that. What makes me why would I think they're going to actually ban? And again, ban has many different meanings when it comes to politics. You know better than me. So unless that document comes out, me and you, we read it and we get the sense of the actual language, I am not getting excited, nor am I passing any credits to anyone.
Yeah. I mean, this is the sad fact is even if this does go through, like you said, Americans aren't to that point. It's going to probably take, you know, I would think even another massive terrorist attack here on U.S. soil would not be enough to get the kind of momentum we need to get something like this done, because the Muslim Brotherhood does need to be designated a terrorist organization, and any of these connected mosques, connected individuals, people at CARE, whoever else, same thing. They all need to be prosecuted. But we've already seen with even with Antifa, they're declared an international terrorist organization now too, and there's little to no action here. We ought to be kicking in the doors and arresting anybody affiliated with it, especially if you want these attacks on ICE agents and other people to stop. And we need to treat this the same way. I mean, I do think that there are more Americans beginning to wake up to the threat that is Islam and Islamization, especially as we watch our allies over in Europe, countries being overrun. I mean, I think it's entirely realistic that you could have a civil war in the UK in the next 6 months. And this is going to be a big part of it. Sorry, go ahead.
And here's an example. I don't know if your audience are aware, I don't know if they remember, but in 2016, when the Pulse nightclub shooting happened, that was in June, I believe, or July of 2016. Immediately, well, actually, I was the first one within minutes of shooting who came out and said, this is tied to a British-born imam who came to Florida in April of 2016. And he preached that out of mercy for gay people, you should kill them because that's the only way they will be forgiven. Took about a couple of weeks for big names to talk about it. Then it got attention. The videos are still out there for the record. Just look up the imam preaching killing gays before Pulse nightclub and the video will pop up. A lot of pressure from a lot of journalists, a lot of lawmakers that, this guy should be banned from ever entering US. Guess what? Immediately his visa was revoked. By the way, this was the second time this imam came to America. The first time was 2013, preaching the same thing. His visa was revoked immediately and he was asked to leave the country, which he did. But did you know to this day he has not been barred from re-entering America again?
Yeah. Nothing's going to change. We don't find the fortitude to actually fight back and do something about it. That's the problem. You can't be nice to people that say they want to kill you. We can't invite people into the country that do not align with our values, but we continue to do so. It really is like the very definition of insanity. We do need to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with more. We're going to go, next we're going to go to Tulsi Gabbard and her speech over at AmFest. So stay with us, and we'll be right back with even more.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
All right. Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the great programs here on Next American News is by supporting our sponsors. So right now, you should go to lutfstudio.com. Pick yourself up a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art from our guest today, Annie Cyrus. And if you see something on there you really like, but maybe the color just doesn't match the zebra print couch in your living room, you can also message her, and she'll get back to you on how quickly that piece can be made and what the approximate price is going to be.
I don't do zebra pattern, but I do black and white.
Yeah. It may not be It'll go with the theme of the room, and we won't even judge your taste, at least not publicly.
No, I won't. And if I could say, while you're there, make sure to use promo code Insurrection. 1, you get 10% off. 2, I know that you're coming from Michael's show, so we can try to, help the show out in whatever way possible.
Yeah, and again, that's what helps keep us on the air here, is support from viewers like you. We have advertisers that are very important to us because they do support the mission, the message, and what we're trying to do here, and they need your support as well, or we won't be on the air either.
Emma, you have something to say?
Yeah, apparently Emma's decided to join the broadcast this morning.
Yes, and everybody's complimenting how beautiful you are. So you see, I don't tell you you're a beautiful baby girl for no reason. You are beautiful. Oh, I think we embarrassed her. She's like, oh no, don't put a spotlight on me. Okay, that worked. She's gone. Hopefully she will not flip the camera.
Yeah, as revenge.
By the camera.
Well, let's jump into this, because this is something that I took note of, and we were trying to play the video yesterday. I had issues with it, so we are going to play a portion of it here today. But Tulsi Gabbard, greatest threat to freedom is Islamic ideology that seeks a global caliphate. And this is right on the nose. This is the message that I think people are starting to finally see here. Not enough yet, but when you look at places like Dearborn, Michigan, or all the fraud that's gone on in Minnesota and Minneapolis and Little Mogadishu, and other instances of fraud that we're going to get to here later up in Maine. Now that's starting to really heat up. We have multiple investigations now here in Ohio, and I'm hearing through the grapevine that we're going to have numerous other ones pop popping up after Christmas, and the majority of which are going to be with other groups of Islamic refugees that have come here to the U.S. But it's not just there. There's a large group in California, a Spanish group that was running a similar scam, and this may even have connections to the government in L.A. and California's government. So no big surprise there. But let me go ahead and play the first part of this, and then I'll get your response here.
There is a threat to our freedom that is not often talked about enough. And it is the greatest near and long-term threat to both our freedom and our security, and that is the threat of Islamist ideology. It is propagated by people who not only do not believe in freedom, their fundamental ideology is antithetical to the foundation that we find in our Constitution and Bill of Rights, which is that our Creator endowed upon us inalienable rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, Charlie focused on this quite a bit. He talked about it in ways that very few others did because he understood this direct threat to freedom. When we look back to the attack on 9/11 that happened 24 years ago now, it changed so many of our lives, where thousands of Americans were killed by Islamist jihadis who attacked us on that day. And we were confronted with the reality of the lengths that they will go to try to attack the foundations of who we are as a country. It was a day that changed my life, probably like some of you in the room. It's what motivated me to enlist in the Army, to go out and to fight and to defend and to defend our freedom and defeat those who are attacking us.
That's just a brief part of the speech, but she hits the nail on the head. That's the main problem. Sharia is in direct conflict with our Constitution, our values, our way of life here, everything. It is completely incompatible with Western values, and that is never going to change.
Let me be selfish for a second. I would say, Tulsi, if you would check your email, you would realize that there are some of us who have dedicated our life to talk about this topic. We don't touch on it. We dedicate our days and nights to it. Yes, she's correct. I will say this. I'm very glad we have got to a point where she actually says Islamist,
yes,
rather than radical.
Radical Islam.
I'm glad she's calling it Islamist jihad instead of lone wolf radicalized online. That's great. However, and I did listen to the whole speech, and she's got great points. The question comes down to, is she gonna permanently soon be completely removed from the scene because she said what she said? Or everybody in that room who was clapping is gonna back her up when it comes to it? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but that is where we lack. Yeah. When it comes, we are great cheerleaders. But when the game starts, we stay on the side cheerleading. We don't get on the field and fight. That is the problem. I pray that everybody in that room backs her up. But this is my end of the year message to all of my fellow Americans. Enough cheerleading. It is time for you to pick up your armor just like she is doing now. I'm pretty sure that wasn't easy for her to say. I'm pretty sure she knows all the backlash. I'm sure her phone was blowing up right after of how dare you said jihad, how dare you said Islamist. But she did it. It's time for everybody else to pick up their armor and do the right thing. Call it I am so tired on my own page. People who have followed me for 10 years, they're still like, they're radical Islam. I'm like, what have I been teaching you for 10 years? What do you mean radical Islam? They're like, well, you know, my family sees my comments. I'm like, oh, okay. Very important. Well, maybe you should teach your family about Islam as well. So they would have stopped calling it radical, because these matter. The language matters. So I'm glad she is doing it. I'm glad she's talking about it, but it's not going to be enough. We need every single American. Listen to my words. Every single American. I don't care your Left, right, middle of the road. I don't care if you're man, woman. I don't care if you have experience, you don't have experience. It doesn't matter. Every American needs to pick up the right language and talk in that language. Because as long as we cover for them, we will not be able, as she said, to defeat them. As long as you walk around and say radical Islam, moderate Muslims, radical this, moderate that, there is no fighting the enemy.
Yeah. We have to acknowledge the problem for what it is. We have to be willing to actually do something about it, even when the media calls you mean names and calls you a racist or is an Islamophobe or anything else. You know what? Double down. Start to go tell them, we've got to remove all the worshipers of the pedophile prophet and get them out of the country. Again, it's completely incompatible with our values, our way of life. We already see what happens when you let them congregate in large areas where they take over a place like Dearborn, Michigan, what they're trying to do down in Texas and other areas right now. You have some states beginning to push back, and like Florida and Texas, again, banning the Muslim Brotherhood, trying to ban CARE, and this is what needs to happen. Europe should be a warning. And look at how little time it took to go from London being London to London being overrun, and Sadiq Khan now is trying to cancel Christmas over there. Can
I? I'm glad you said that. I was hoping, so I was going to open that up on my show, but I'm glad you said that. We are on, as you said, Christmas Eve. I want to say this. Okay, we have many Christians who say, "Listen, I have a Muslim friend who tells me that they believe in Christ as Jesus, the prophet." I want to ask you this. If the only difference, which is a big deal, by the way, there's a huge difference between Jesus the prophet, Jesus son of God. That's a whole concept. Hello,
Yeah.
right? That's what God him crucified. But okay, let me tell you this: if their only problem with us is Trinity, you want to tell me why they feel very disrespected and insulted through Christmas? Why the birth of what they consider a prophet is also bothersome to them? You want to answer that? Because what happens is at most Christmas malls and Christmas markets is not some Hamas member, nor is it a Muslim Brotherhood. It's your neighbors, your Muslim neighbors, who come and pull your tree down and say this is insulting. Why don't you right away ask them, like, wait, I thought you believe in Jesus as the prophet. Why is his birthday so insulting to you? Catch them right there.
No. Again, it can't be tolerated. They shouldn't be able to force us into the shadows and then allow their culture to be dominant. This is a Christian nation. It's always going to be, unless we drop our guard and again, continue to allow this slow Islamification that we're seeing right now, because it's not going to be slow for long. That's going to pick up rather quickly. Keep your eye on New York over the next few years and watch the changes that happen there after Mamdani starts to, once he's in power there. We already know that across the country, calls went out and they're going to be moving themselves and their families there. And again, once they're a majority, get your stab vests ready for the subway, because they're going to bring all aspects of their culture over here. After all, it is the religion of peace, so expect it to get stabby.
Yes, and watch as New York City will become London.
Yeah.
It will become London. And again, I know a lot of people prefer to emphasize on Mamdani's socialist side of things, but you need to realize that green has always used red to establish foundations. And when they gain power, red goes away completely. And they apply green, red being socialist, communist, green being Islamist.
Yep.
It will get to burn New York City. And again, I want to say, I hope and I pray, because that's the thing. There is so much running we can do, Michael. If we keep leaving the estates and the cities that are conquered, then we don't get to complain about our town was taken over. We abandoned the town. What did we expect? Because I hear people are like, I'm just going to move out of New York City, go to Florida. Okay. You do realize some of these, what we call, by the way, Florida is half conquered, just for the record. Florida isn't that clean of Islam anyways. CARE Florida is the first CARE chapter that established a month of Islam in calendar in Florida. So tell me that's a clean state without any infiltration of Islam. Point being, how many good, clean states do you think we can move into until our country is at least half gone, and then we want to sit there and complain about it? We can't keep running You were one of the people who asked me that why would I move 7 minutes away from the biggest Shia Iranian Pakistani mosque in the world?
Yeah.
Well, because here I can do something. I have the advantage to get there, hear their stuff, get their pamphlets, know what's happening. I'm not saying everybody should do that, but my point is we can't keep running, emptying these cities and these estates, and then look back and say they took our land. No, we're giving it to them. Our lack of
Exactly.
response, our lack of fight is what's causing the conquer. Again, going back to my book, there's a chapter where I go over this. Yes, Islam exists. Yes, Islam is a toolbox that allows those who chose to be animals practice it and use the tools inside of it. However, Islam has grown by the hands of non-Muslims looking the other way, believing the lies, accepting the propaganda, and looking the other way. So
Exactly.
we have to hold ourselves as much accountable as we hold the jihadis accountable.
Yeah, and your local lawmakers. Put pressure on them. If they're exploiting these laws and loopholes to gain influence there, push back. A lot of these places, we know they're violating other laws. Just make their life miserable. You can get people to leave if you put enough pressure on them. And this is what we're going to have to do. But this has to be tackled top down, bottom up, before we end up like London or Paris or Germany now. I mean, Germany is basically going bankrupt. The 10 largest cities in Germany are now on the verge of bankruptcy, and it's primarily due to Muslim migration from Syria and other places that are now just collapsing them because they're still on welfare benefits 10 years later, not working, costing the taxpayers there thousands upon thousands of dollars per month. And this does take its toll. It's one of the same things that's going on in Canada right now, why their medical care system is collapsing. And they're now pushing a suicide for everybody because they can't pay for treatment anymore. I want to pull in one other story at least because we are running out of time here. Iran holds surprise missile drills near cities amid fears of new Israeli war. What can you tell me about this?
Well, technically, it wasn't a surprise. It was not. It was. They don't announce. Iran doesn't announce. But yes, there were reports. Which first, the IRIB, which is Islamic Republic of Iran's broadcasting network, they denied it was a missile launch. Then they came out and say, actually, we have the green light from Khamenei's office to say yes, it was. And then immediately after that, one of the generals of IRGC did an interview and announced that we are ready, way more than we were before the 12 days. With the noises coming from Israel and America trying to put together a new plan to come back and attack Iran, we have the stockpile we needed to carry the plan of the 2,000 missiles shot at Israel with 500 per attack with 45-second gap in between each attack. And I know a lot of people are like, Iran, they're so mullahs and they think and they don't know. They do. They do. Israel has confirmed that. And that's why they're rushing. They're worried because Iran, thanks to Russia and China, rebuilt pretty quickly. And they do have the stockpile they're claiming to have. Israel has confirmed that. And if they do what they're saying they're going to do, meaning shoot 500 missiles at a time with 45-second gap in between each 500, Iron Dome will break.
Yeah, it'll
Israel
be
will
overwhelmed.
not. The last time they tried the 200 and Iron Dome barely survived it. We're talking 500, 45-second gap, 500, 45-second gap, 500, 45-second gap, another 500. That is where the concern comes from. Unfortunately, us getting in, stopping Israel while they had the regime cornered, the supreme leader in a bunker with his sons and half of IRGC leaders gone and dead, we stopped Israel. That was in end of June. So July, August, September, October, November, and now December. That was 6 long months for Iran to take the threat serious, rebuild, and spend every penny they had left and borrow some to have what it takes to go up against Israel. If this happens, now let me rephrase that. When this happens, unfortunately, the result is not going to be what we saw in the 12 days. It's going to be much tougher for Israel. And considering we're focusing our troops in Middle East to help al-Shara in Syria right now, they will possibly not have the backing they need from us to be able to finish the job. So it's a pretty serious report. I know, some headlines just made it light, or some headlines even said it's a lie, but it's an important headline. It's an important report to know that 6 month delaying of ending the regime in Iran has turned the table to where I don't know what the result's going to be. However, it's going to be very ugly. It's going to be way more than 12 days, and it's not going to have the outcome we were seeing on day 8 of the 12 days.
Yes, and you're going to see a lot more lives lost too. What I'm hearing from one of my friends that has some knowledge on missile defense systems and things that are related, that they have the capability probably to take down 250 to 300 missiles at a time. But even when you're talking like large waves like that, some missiles did get through in the last conflict. Not very many, but when you're talking this many targets at one time, you have saturation even just of a specific area where they can't shoot down all the targets. Not to mention is we've got a presence over in Syria right now, then they're potentially also going to be hostages. They redirect a large number of those to attack our forces. You could have a large number of U.S. casualties. If they just finished the job the first time, we wouldn't be dealing with this right now when the situation could get far worse and it could rapidly accelerate. Now, I have one other question. Do you know if have they rebuilt their air defense system or rebuilt it to real capacity this time in Iran?
Yes, they have. That was the first. So right after the ceasefire and the peace deal, the first step was they replaced all the missing, dead heads of IRGC. The second step was actually to repair the air defense, especially the main in Tehran.
Yeah.
And then after that was, well, while they were doing that, of course, China and Russia were putting together what Iran needed for the missiles. And then after that, they went into the production of missiles. Now, I should add this also. 3 days ago, no, wait, today is Tuesday. That would have put us 5 days ago. Islamic Republic of Iran completely replaced 11 heads of their military and IRGC. For your audience who may not know what that means they are so airtight, ready for an attack, that they will replace any head, any leader, any generals who might even show the smallest sign of weakness or possibility of being compromised. 11 people were replaced 5 days ago, and all 11 of them, the new members, are directly trained under Qasem Soleimani, who directly answer to the Supreme Leader of Iran. All 11 names.
Unbelievable. Well, and I guess this time they probably won't
Not
put
every
these...
ceasefire is a good ceasefire. I remember I told you that day, Michael. Not every ceasefire is a good ceasefire. That was a terrible ceasefire.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it then. They're just going to take time, rebuild, and get ready to attack. And apparently that time is now. That it didn't take as long as some people thought it might for them to rebuild. I mean, honestly, I even thought it would take more than 6 months. But
because we never, as our government, I have had another Substack out about this. And this isn't, I want you to know this isn't my bias toward what this regime has done to me. No, this is my absolute life experience and understanding of the system. Our government, American government, our lawmakers, and our people have this tendency to never take mullahs serious, because in their head, they're just these weird looking pedophiles who can't manage anything.
Yeah.
I have screamed on top of my lungs for a decade now, from August of 2015 until today. When I did the first video until today, I kept saying, stop thinking Iran is no threat. Stop putting comments of joking about the mullahs. The mullahs are the heads, the puppets, the faces. Those operating, half of them are people we trained here in our universities.
Yeah.
I know the names who came here to get PhDs on missiles, on chemistry, on a strategy.
Yeah.
We trained their brains behind operation. Stop taking it so lightly. I don't care how many times which presidents comes and say, Iran is so desperate, they want to deal with us. Stop believing president's job either your guy or somebody else's guy. Their job is to constantly play the bluff game in front of cameras to make you feel like you're safe. That's a given policy of a president. He can't come and say we dropped B-2s, spend millions, and achieved nothing. No president will ever say that. So he's going to tell you we destroyed their nuclear sites. He's going to tell you they'll never try to rebuild it. He will tell you they are desperate for a deal because we destroyed them. He will tell you all of that. But the truth of the matter is this regime has survived 47 years, 8 years of war going up against Iraq, America, UK, and France. And that was when they were babies. Iraq, Saddam Hussein, under order of US CIA, attacked Iran, invaded Iran by an attack. In less than 2 years of establishment of this regime, they survived Saddam, supported by US, UK, and France, for 8 years until Saddam Hussein said, fine, let's make a peace treaty. We can't get them. This very regime was cornered and done by Israel in 12 days. Of course, in 6 months, they're going to rebuild faster, stronger. And this time, I can tell you, majority of Iranians, we're not holding our breath. Not anymore. We were during the 12 days. Not this time.
No, I mean, there's two other factors here that are important. Like, one of the reasons, well, one, Israel got the drop on them. They were surprised when a lot of this went down. The other thing, that really worked out to Israel's advantage is a bunch of their, I think it was their Russian air defense systems, they weren't deployed properly. They were actually interfering with each other as they tried to target Israeli planes. And I'm sure they're not going to make that mistake again. They're going to space them further apart, a kilometer or whatever it was. I don't remember the numbers now. But yeah, initially they couldn't even target things because they had these missile batteries too close together, and their radar was interfering with each other's systems, so the missiles would just go off to the wrong direction once they were fired. Well, that's not going to happen again. If they're reinforced with new equipment from Russia, China, wherever, it's going to probably be more modern, more effective, more accurate. So they're not going to have like an unlimited bombing campaign that's essentially going through unmolested. This time, they are probably going to lose planes. This time, missiles are going to land in Israel in bulk. It's not going to be blowing up a house here and there, maybe hitting a hospital. It's going to be 200 missiles, 250, and that's by their own projections, or by Israel's projections, potentially getting through Iron Dome and Iron Beam and all the rest of their defensive systems just because of the volume. You can only target so many incoming items at one time. And if they are going to overwhelm, send 2,000 missiles in 500 round bursts, 45 seconds apart, you're going to have mass casualties there. And do we really have the stomach for the kind of fight that it needs to take out this regime? And will Israel be able to? Those are good questions. Or are we going to see if there is a major attack like that they are forced into a nuclear response? Because that's another possibility. And if they think they're on the verge of being defeated or thousands of people are dying, they may deploy nuclear weapons. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them.
And let's not forget, last week I reported, it was yesterday's Substack that I reported on last week's report that Israel arrested a Russian man in Israel who got in through work visa. But then he was in Israel spying for Iran. They found so many pictures and documentations of their important infrastructure sent to IRGC by this man. They didn't just rebuild and regroup. They picked up, as you know, over 1,800 Iranians accused of spying for Israel. I'm sure not all of them were, but some of them were Mossad spies. Because I know a lot of Iranians cooperate to this day with Israel to get rid of the regime. They cleaned house while sending their own spies to Israel through Russia. Not Iranian spies, Russian spies. So you got to take that into consideration. It's kind of reverse. As much as almost 17 months of gathering intel and information by Israel to cut Iran off guard, now Iran copied that model. For last 6 months, they had their spies in Israel capturing information, photographs, angles, all of that. So again, I agree with some of the comments. Yes, God is always with Israel. However, us butting in into what we shouldn't have has definitely is going to have consequences. We can't deny that. Listen,
Yeah.
God is with all of us. God is with all of us. But then when we try to take the will and we go do something that's not part of his plan, what does he do? He throws a couple of blockage in front of us. And then we realize, oops, I shouldn't have done that. This is what happened 6 months ago. Yes, God is always with Israel. God is always with us. However, the mistake that was made 6 months ago is a mistake that now is going to cost a lot. And I don't mean just money. A lot of lives are going to be taken. And on both sides, don't forget, I understand. I grew up in a war, Iran-Iraq war. I get it. But I'm sitting here, Michael, already thinking, you know what I went through during that 12 days. And I'm thinking, do I have what it takes to go through that in a much higher number of knowing Jews and Iranians are being killed, knowing this could have ended 6 months ago and I stay happy with our White House? I'll pray I have the strength to do that, but I don't think I do.
Yeah. I mean, you will have the strength. I think you're stronger than you know, and stronger than you let on. But no, I mean, you're exactly right. This is a job that should have just been finished the first time. They were on the verge of victory and instead back down, and now it's going to be much worse for the people in Israel and the people in Iran. Let's not forget, 70% of the population there roughly wants nothing to do with the Islamic regime there. They just want to go back to living their normal lives. You and I were talking off air a few days ago about how many, the lack of attendance in mosques and how many have been closed there over the last few years. It's an unbelievable number. And
let me add to what you just said by answering Lori's question. Actually, she has two. On your first question, yes, Lori, I do ship my art all across America, Canada, and Europe. So that's that. The second question is she's asking about the water shortage in Iran. Another reason majority of Iranians are done, even those who still think regime has nothing to do with Islam, Michael, are done with the regime, is the fact that last year, of course, there was the random or not random, scheduled disconnection of electricity. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, certain zip codes had electricity. On Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, some had. Sundays, everybody had it. This year, people have suffered through water shortage. And when I say water shortage, I mean, I have videos sent to me by people from Iran showing me, there was one video. She's a mother of a 6-month-old baby, right? They have water. They are right outside of Tehran. That's where their apartment is. They have water only 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, Michael. And she was sending me videos of her kitchen that during that 3 hours, she's spending an hour and a half of it piling up water for the rest of the day so she can take care of her baby and stay hydrated herself while she's breastfeeding the baby, right?
Yeah.
That is what people have suffered through for almost a year. And last week, the president of Iran, Pezeshkian, comes out and say, here's the thing. I know winter's coming, but not only water issue, but we might have to disconnect your electricity at least twice a week during winter. So figure out a way to stay warm.
That's wonderful.
People are going to have to get, right? Families are going to have to get through it. And here's the thing. I'll tell you, where I grew up in Iran, Karaj, winters are gorgeous, but they're winter. I mean, Chicago winter. And these people have to survive with no water and no electricity. So they have to survive only 3 hours a day water and only 5 days a week electricity. A whole winter with their families. How do you tell your 6-year-old that the regime destroyed all of our natural resources? We don't have. This is a country with 2 oceans. Sorry, 2 gulfs, 2 mountains, 2 deserts, and over 7. What do we call the smaller ocean? Not lake, the other one. Rivers.
Rivers.
How do you go? How do you suffer from water shortage in this country? How?
Lack of distribution. They don't care about their own people. They don't care about their own people. They're too busy hating the Jews and hating us. It's the great Satan's fault somehow.
Exactly. It is the entire time. Well, when you spend majority of your budget to send to Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, some of the Al Shura people, when you spend most of that, you don't have the budget the country needs for all the systems and the tools
Infrastructure.
to continue infrastructure. Thank you. You don't have the money to spend. So your people can suffer through whatever it is because you're going to have to continue funding your soldiers in the front of the resistance line. That's what they call it. This is why people are done with this regime. I have seen so many people saying in not so usable on air languages of go rule Syria, go rule Lebanon to the mullahs. Since you fund them all day long, why don't you go rule them too? We're done.
Yeah. Well,
this country, Iran, has way too much to ever have anyone live in poverty. Between, as I said, between their natural resources, between the saffron and the opium and the pistachio and the oil and the gas and the gold and the silver, Iran is, I believe, one of the only 5 countries in the world that can produce the 925 silver.
I mean, this is the bottom line.
They are broke.
Yeah, because instead of supporting their own people, they're so tied to hate, it's destroying them. And this is just another illustration is why we can't allow this backwards mentality that infested Islam or is Islam to manifest here in our country. We cannot allow this cancer to spread. We have to put a stop to it. We see exactly what's going on in Europe. We see what's going on through the whole Middle East. Nobody should be blind to this fact. We can't keep pretending this is the religion of peace and it's just a different culture. Sorry, not all cultures are equal. And this is certainly one of them that's at the bottom of the barrel. So we don't need this. We don't need this to spread. It only brings harm. And again, the fact that they can't even take care of their own people, they're so blinded by their hatred of Israel and the United States and the West, and they're directed by their holy book, for lack of a better term, the Quran, to do this. They are never, ever going to change, and we have to address this in reality, or we are all going to pay the price. And eventually, due to our weakness, they will establish a global caliphate. If we don't start pushing back now, if they take Europe, they're really going to have a foothold, and we'll never be able to push back. So again, we've got to stop this now if we want to win this war. And then I got I don't know if we give you a chance to respond to that real quick. Then I got one last story I want to cover.
Oh, you got it. That's absolutely 100% correct. And sometimes frustrating part, Michael, is it seems like our people here in America, they are so isolated in their own head that they think if you close border, it's fixed, it's done. They don't understand that sometimes other countries' problem shall be turned into our problem for the future. For example, I have always said we had no business going into Iraq. We had no business going into Afghanistan. Right now, the war we started in Israel, absolutely a terrible idea, which is, by the way, is a quiet war. But I want your audience to know we are in war in Syria. We are officially. We just launched an attack. So just so you know, in 5 years, if you hear something about the war that has started today, I told you, it has started last week. But I have also said sometimes we do need to help our allies in Europe, even if it's just by doing some sort of strategy for them. There are certain countries in the Middle East that we do need to get involved with. That is Israel. Aside our Christian duty, it is a strategical move to protect Israel. We have to get involved with Iran, not the regime, the people. Mm-hmm. When Iran was under Pahlavi, look back, those of you who may not have the age, you might be too young to know. During Pahlavi, it wasn't just peace and prosperity in Middle East. We were doing fantastic over here too. Yeah. But one move of Pahlavi trying to take care of its own people, we decided he's not worth keeping. Let's give it to a bunch of people who are going to destroy their people and us at the same time. So these are the times that we need to pick our battles. And Syria is not our battle. Syria from day one, 1946 until today, Syria has been a failed project. Let it go. Let it go. Guess what? If there is no Iran regime, there is no Syrian conflict, because Syria from the beginning was a majority Christian land.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason Syria has stood to this day as a failed project and became an enemy of Israel and America is because of Iran's regime. Same thing with Lebanon. Listen to Bridget Gabriel. She'll tell you.
Yeah.
So get chop the head off the snake off and be done. If we just went to war. Didn't we, Michael, in Syria? You can vouch for that. We just went to war.
Yeah.
If we were going to go to war in Middle East, let's team up with Israel, finish the regime in Iran, and then watch it all fall in place. Why is that so hard to understand?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they're the bank. They're the ones financing all this. They're the ones directing it. And if you don't cut off the head of the snake, it's going to continue to bite you. I got one last story I want to get to before we go. Hey guys, if you're here illegally, I got an opportunity for you. You can be home to visit your family for Christmas. So DHS triples reward for illegal aliens who self-deport over Christmas will now receive $3,000 free flight home and wiping of immigration record, meaning if you do want to come back and visit legally or maybe come back on a tourist visa in a few years, you can still do that now. Just get out now while you can. It's 3 Gs. You're going to get caught eventually. Take them up on it. You can be home for Christmas. You can go right to the CBP home app, book a flight, make sure you show up, and go back to your homeland, celebrate Christmas, be with your family, and you'll even have an opportunity where you could come back and visit legally in the future.
I like the most of that. I don't like the deleting the record part, because if they came in illegally once, they're going to come in again illegally. But I hope what they mean is the government will keep record, but they're not going to hold it against them if they come back in legally.
Yeah, I think that is what they mean. I think the headline wasn't quite written correctly, because that's what they're doing with other people. They're leaving it on their record that they came in illegally. But normally, if you were caught here, you'd have a 10-year ban. What they're saying is that ban is not going to be enforced, that you would be able to apply for a legal visa, come in to visit. You better leave again when you're supposed to. Or if you're going to come here to be a citizen, you know what? If you're willing to go through the process, you're willing to come in legally once things are sorted out. Because I do think you and I have talked about this before off air. I think we need a moratorium, a ban on any immigration except for maybe a small number of emergency refugee visas. And I do want to keep the O1 visas open. That's the extreme talent. That's your rocket scientist from wherever that's a million years ahead of the curve, or molecular biologist. That's extreme talent. And we always do want to be a brain drain. We want to take the best of the best here that can help add to our society and advance scientific discovery. But other than those two types, shut it all down. We need real assimilation. We need to fix the problem that we have now. And then we do need immigration reform, just not like what the left is telling you. We need something that helps people better integrate. We need to go back to what we were discussing earlier. Programs that help encourage assimilation, to teach people our culture, our values, our history, and the English language, so we can all be united as Americans, whether we were born here, born in Iran, born in Canada, Uzbekistan, wherever. If you're coming here and you're bringing something to America that builds up our country and you want to be part of our culture and our traditions, that's great, but you got to do it legally, and we need to control who's entering our borders. Any final thoughts?
Did you know if we stop creating false wars in Middle East, we don't have to promise them who cooperate with us a green card in America? I mean, if we're not there, if we're not having them help us translate, we don't have to bring them to America. Just saying.
Exactly. We can solve a whole lot of problems at once. But yeah, we got to fix the problems here first before we can make other changes.
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
We do. No, yeah, I agree with you. And that's the thing. I know it's, you propose it in more of a sarcastic way. Blur says, act now. I agree, Blur. But in all seriousness, it is so sad that we have got to a point where we're willing to give $3,000 to someone who broke our law, disrespected our land, and pretty much laugh their way to the bank when they receive this $3,000. I hope my fellow Americans will remember this moment. Don't take it as a victory. When we receive the next news of 10,000 illegals took the 3,000 and left, that is not a victory. they'll
No.
misunderstand what just happened. That is a cost that we paid with our hard earning tax dollars because we failed to hold our leaders accountable for failing to protect us. Remember that instead of celebrating of, yay, we got 10,000 illegals out. No, we should have never been here. We should have never allowed our leaders of any side of aisle to feel the power to destroy our borders and land and legal system to where now we have to pay the I know this is maybe an over exaggerated term for a lot of people, but someone who has zero respect for your land,
Yes.
it's the person who broke into your house and
Yeah.
stole your stuff. You don't give them money to leave your house. I don't. But if you let them keep coming in, there will be a time where you say, okay, you took everything. I got nothing. You want my last ring on my finger and never come back again? That's how you should look at this. Because Michael, as you know, unfortunately, within American culture is that everything is a victory. It's a win. No,
Yeah.
no.
Well, and even this, like you said, it's sad that we've gotten to this point where it's less expensive to send somebody home, give them $3,000 than it is to arrest them, hold them, then ship them back here. That's the only upside. But you're exactly right. It should never have gotten to this point to begin with. And you said they don't respect our land. It's not just the land. It's the laws. It's the culture. It's the way of life. They came from wherever and they came here essentially to line their own pockets. I know there's a small number that are working or whatever, but the fact of the matter is people came here because of financial incentives that were put out by the Biden regime and by all these NGOs, and each of them need to be held accountable. I don't care if you're connected to a church or a religion or whatever else. I'm looking at you, Catholic Social Services, and HIWAS, the Hebrew immigration. I always forget what the last letter is, but I don't care. These things, same thing. They need to be investigated and disbanded. This broke U.S. laws, and there needs to be actual accountability for it. Or this is just going to happen again. We also, again, need to strengthen our border. And I do agree. We do need to reform the immigration process. So, but we can't have any reforms until the problem's corrected and the illegals that are here now are out of the country, and we've shut down these pathways. And again, we have to have a system that puts America and American values first. We are not the dumping ground for the unwanted around the world, despite what some people think the Statue of Liberty means, or the poem that, by the way, was not on there when it was created. It was put on much later, but nobody wants to talk about that either. I guess that would probably also be racist. Whatever.
No, I know. Apparently, if you love America, you're a racist. That's the bottom line. Again, every time I'm called a racist, I just sit here, I'm like, did I use the wrong foundation on my face or what's going on? Because, I mean, I'm talking about Iran. I'm an Iranian, and then I'm the racist toward Iranians. Like, how does that even work? So I've come to the conclusion that if you love America, you're a racist. And I'll tell you what, I have no problem being a racist. I don't.
Yeah.
I take 3 things proudly when I know, and those 3 things are racist, bigoted, and Islamophobe, which is regular terms thrown at me. When I know what I'm doing is 1, is standing by truth of the gospel. 2, paying my due to America for giving me a chance at real life. 3, protecting the next generation of all humanity, not just Americans. That's my thing. That's my stand. All 3 are worth being called whatever. Name it. I'll take it. Call me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't hurt my mission. Most importantly, it doesn't make me who they claim me to be.
Yeah.
Just projection.
Well, exactly. The words are now meaningless, unfortunately. They did used to have a meaning and a real connotation that meant something. But now it just means you disagree with leaving our borders wide open, inviting in whoever, and giving them unlimited cash while they're here, while disrespecting and devaluing Americans, American citizenship in our country. We've got to get back to putting our own people first if we want to have any hope of help or ability to help other people around the world. So again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Sorry,
Can I add one line? Mamdani said on an interview when he was asked directly that would you condemn the term global intifada? He said, I don't use that term myself. However, I believe in freedom of speech, and I don't believe in policing speech. Why are we not learning from their own rulebook?
Of course. We got to start.
Why are you self-censoring to make them comfortable? If what you say seems Islamophobic to them, as Mamdani, one of their own leaders, said, they don't have to use your term, but you are allowed to use yours. He thinks global intifada, which basically means wipe Israel off the map and kill all Jews. It's the river to the sea. If Mamdani thinks freedom of speech should apply to that, though it might be offensive and concerning to some people, he's soon going to be the mayor of New York City. I think that's enough green light for you to practice your free speech.
Yeah. Again, nobody has the right to not be offended, and especially when we're telling the truth. Again, I want to thank you for joining today. And again, I want to wish our audience and you a Merry Christmas. You know, you're the kind of person that America needs more of, somebody that really does understand our culture, our history, our values, and what makes this country so special, why it is can be restored once again to be that shining, sitting on a hill, a beacon of freedom for the rest of the world to aspire to. We have to get back to our roots and our values, and take this time over Christmas to help think about how you can help achieve that. It's going to take all of us. We can't just have keyboard warriors and ninjas. More people need to get involved and actually do something if we want to see the change that we're all looking for right now. So Annie, once again, thank you for joining me here. To our audience, Merry Christmas. Please, I may end up doing a program tomorrow. I'll try to update things on the X America News channel. I might have something with a special guest. If not, I'll be back on Monday. But thank you again, guys, for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news.